We're snorting cap rates and shooting up cash flow here at Deal Junkies. Welcome back to Deal Junkies. We're going to talk about, what are we talking about today? We're going to talk about acquisition strategy and expenses. Oh, this is going to be a sexy episode. I'm Gabe Johansson. I'm here with Trevor Howard, Mike Nuss, Dane McKinney. We cannot wait to record this for you. We have all the answers.
We're going to talk about why Alex Ferry charges us so much for our insurance.
Oh,
you know, Alex is with State Farm. And
shout out State Farm.
Let's give a shout out to State Farm. He actually does a great
I got a real life story about Alex and insurance.
Oh, well,
so he just insured a duplex I was buying. And on the Performa, I have a partner in this one. On the Performa, I put $1,000 a year for insurance. I was like, I might be able to do better than that. He's like, no way. And my insurance broker, I don't know if he wasn't paying attention or not, but he sent a Foremost quote over, which is like $1,900 or $1,700. Alex got it done for less than $800.
You're underinsured.
Congratulations. You are not covered.
Do you make claims very often?
I hate claims.
So normally we're not making claims anyway. So we're sort of self-insured anyway, right? So
there's
why not be underinsured?
I am 100% of the opinion that I am going to self-insure myself when the portfolio is large enough, because the claim process is like, we have one right now, a garage caught on fire. It's not like a tear down or anything, but I want to tear it down and build an ADU. But to get the entire insurance money out of it, I have to rebuild the garage. And then essentially, well, if you're not going to rebuild the garage, here's what the check is that you get, because they take all the depreciation, all the bullshit out of it, minus the deductible. It's like $9,000. Oh, I can go demo my garage. Fucking awesome. Thank you. I just lost $200 a month in rent, and the solution is you're paying me to demo it down.
Yeah.
I fucking hate insurance.
So I guess the question we wanted to dive into wasn't why does Alex charge us so much? Sorry, Alex.
That was actually a great commercial for Alex.
It really was.
Like there are. I will say this about insurance is just like lenders. You think you've got all your lending relationships you need, and then one day they don't loan you any money anymore, and you got to go find new lenders. The same thing with insurance companies is we've worked with insurance providers for years that we just thought, you know, we want the service. We want to make sure if we did have a claim, they go to bat for us and so on. But with what's happened post-COVID, the insurance players are changing. They're moving out of different markets. They're moving out of different asset types. And so you may have, you may want to get a quote, I guess is the name of this episode, because your insurance may be a lot higher than it should be. So,
well, the talking point is why insurance has risen so much in the past few years is what we wanted to dive into, right?
Yeah, I mean, just a conversation on expenses in general, but insurance has been the most outsized increase, right? For any of the...
especially in like Texas and Florida and Gulf Coast markets, which is... So I don't care about any of that because I don't buy real estate down there. But that makes Oregon more attractive. And here's the other thing. Other states, like I heard a podcast just the other day where now they're complaining that red states, Florida has a rent control bill on the way forward for any large city is to go closer and closer to tenant protections and closer to what Oregon has. And at the same time as other expenses that Oregon has in control are wildly growing in those other markets, I see actual capital flowing up into the Pacific Northwest in the future because of what's changing ahead.
What expenses are those going up?
Insurance expenses.
Oh,
so just getting a policy right now, getting a renewal of a policy is killing deals. So you've got syndications that are not only failing because they can't get them repositioned, they can't get them refinanced. Now they can't get the insurance premium. And so now they're getting hit by every other angle. And you look at the rise of capital, there's got to be a correlation rate there to the rise of syndications. And what is it? There's just more money chasing fewer assets, and they're going to apartments. And the way they access those apartments, your choices are go buy a fund with Blackstone or invest with the syndicator. And if syndicators are failing on a mass level, well, where can you go? So I see more capital coming to the Pacific Northwest because of what's changing nationwide, politically wise, and landlord policy wise, and then expense wise.
So when you talk about controls, in specifically, you're talking about expense, like from an insurance perspective, you feel like the Northwest has a better handle on insurance than the South and the Sun Belt?
In relativity, and this definitely isn't anything that's in my experience because our insurance costs are going up significantly as well. Mm-hmm. But I'm not hearing the complaints from all the people that I know here locally that I am hearing from all my syndicator friends in all these other markets.
Well, from an apartment standpoint, I think, I don't know if this is a national number or not, but everybody's saying that insurance has gone up 35%. Post-COVID, and it equates to about, on average, about 4% in your expense load. So when we're underwriting an apartment deal, these guys will ask me, back of the napkin, what do you think this deal is worth? I typically, add up the rents, multiply by 12, take out 5% vacancy, and then depending on the project, the age, and the location, take out somewhere from 25 to 40, maybe 45% expense. So if on average we're running at 30 to 35% expense, and that number goes from 30 to 34 or 35 to 39, I mean, you're talking significant. I mean, you're talking like 10% overall increase in your expense load, right? And I mean, every one of those percentage points just hits your bottom line. It just takes out of your NOI and it just lowers the value of the property. So I think going in, like one of the first things we do when we underwrite, when things are really tight, we say, okay, well, maybe we underwrite at a 3% expense or at a 3% vacancy, which to your point, Mike, you talk about how that's bullshit and there's no way you're ever going to get to 3%.
But I write at 0% when I buy it.
When you buy it or sell it?
When I buy it. Oh, maybe I should do it when I sell it. No, because I don't want to be the bozo saying this is an 8 cap when it's really a 6 cap.
Oh, nobody would do that.
No, we didn't have a 15-minute conversation.
Okay, so now we've framed it for Trevor. Trevor wants to ask about why is insurance going up? Why? So this is an important problem, especially in multifamily. It sounds like in residential it is too. So why is this a problem, and why is insurance going up? Who's got the answer to that?
Our friend Mike Nuss, of course, has the answer.
Tell us your guess first.
Global
Trevor.
warming.
I want to hear your guess first. You're a smart guy.
My guess of why it's going up? Because insurance brokers just want to make more money on their premiums, so they charge us more.
Greed is a factor, but
we can ask AJ in May when we talk with AJ Osborne, because he has insurance companies in Florida. There's a huge, I don't even want to get into it because it's so far above my head and my understanding of something, but it comes with state insurance, federal insurance, pooled insurance, major changes happening there. Then you have California that's now insurance is pulling out of the market. So
on a very elementary level, their expenses, their claims were higher than what they brought in.
They couldn't pay it out.
Yeah, somebody told me, I think it was even State Farm, which is interesting because we're seeing really good quotes from State Farm right now, but it was either 22 or 23 for every $1 that was paid in premium. They spent $1.50 in claims. So, a big company like that can weather that storm, but not for long. And so it's just an algorithm. They have to figure out what their projected losses are. And when you have a the cost of everything rose. So if you really want to go back to why it went up, it's inflation. You had COVID, you had supply chain issues, everything went up, labor went up, materials went up, the cost, your place burns down, you got to rebuild it, the cost to build it went up, right? Replacement cost goes up, the cost to fix everything goes up. So now it doesn't matter if you have the same number of claims, the per dollar per claim average is going to go up because of inflation.
And your premiums were based on a 12-month prior.
Yeah. So if we had 35%, I mean, you see, so this is an interesting topic because rents will appreciate and your value of your property. We were buying properties during COVID and we were going, oh my God, we're geniuses, right? Like these properties are going up 20% in a year. We think we're, we thought we were God's gift to real estate, right? Well, what happens after that? Like the expenses were still pretty flat because they hadn't caught up yet. And the rents were going, the values were going, and we caught the inflationary cycle and we got a whole bunch of appreciation out of that. And then what happens afterwards? Then suddenly the cost of everything goes up. All your expenses start to go up. And then your insurance starts to go up. And so then now what we have is expenses are going up faster than rents. Mm-hmm. So your property's going down in value. So now how smart are you?
This is okay. So this triggers two statements that have been said to me in the past 6 months I can't get out of my head. One is my dad mentioned housing is a leading indicator to inflation. Another one is Jay Scott, who says we got ahead of the inflation trend line. So real estate and inflation trend at the same, historically trend on the same line. We got way ahead of it, and before 2008, we crashed back down to it. Now we're ahead of it. And so Jay's statement is we're going to be flat until inflation catches up to that's one potential scenario. But what you just said makes both of those things potentially true, right? Like housing has been a leading indicator to inflation prior to 2008 and then post-COVID. And then now the Jay Scott's comments more on, well, what's the trend line of it?
And it'll happen again.
So
rents will take off again at some point, and they'll outpace expenses, and then it'll correct itself. It always happens.
It's interesting to compare that to income producing property, though, where you have both sides of the coin, because the income is the leading indicator, the expenses are the lagging indicator. I've never heard it in that way, which is amazing. Sets the stage for the question, which is, okay, so now essentially expenses are increasing, especially on the insurance side, to catch up to inflation. Does that mean they're going to flatten out, or is their pace of increase going to stay the same?
I mean, I think that eventually they will flatten out. I think this is the catch-up period. Mm-hmm. This is our, and really you look at, okay, what are your expenses? You have utilities, so we have electricity. Maybe you have gas, but probably not a lot of common area gas. You've got water, sewer. Mm-hmm. You've got insurance. You've got landscaping, maintenance. So all this is labor, materials, utilities, pest control.
Just at your property.
Is pest control going up? Are they raising their prices on us? I mean, everything's going up, right? Mm-hmm. And so you have these periods where you feel like, oh my gosh, we're getting another $100 a month in rent, or $200 or $300 or whatever it is. And you're going, wow, this is amazing, because this is our expense load and the rents are going up. And every time that rent goes up $100, you just printed another $20,000 or $25,000 worth of equity on your building, right? So we think we're geniuses, and we probably are when you really think
in the long run.
In the long run,
yeah.
But there are times like right now, and I think that the important part of the conversation is you have to change the way you underwrite a deal, because you can't look at a deal. We used to just take whatever insurance quote that a seller had, and we'd say, okay, their actual insurance is X, and we'd use that number. And now what do? You call for a quote.
Get 3 quotes, yeah.
And if we list a property, I've got a couple properties listed down south. I looked at the insurance. I said, that's way too high. And I called and got a quote, and I'm advertising a quoted rate because it's lower. Thank you, Alex Ferry, State Farm, than what the owner is currently paying. It makes the numbers look better, right? So that's all I'm saying is if you own buildings, I mean, you love your insurance person. I get that. We're all loyal. They take care of us, but get quotes. And when you're underwriting a new deal, get quotes.
It's tough because I agree. The relationship with my insurance guy has been such a valuable one to me, but he's proven less valuable in the past year or so.
Well, and that's not really their fault. Right. We have an insurance guy. We love him. He's been with my partner for 30 years, right? And he's with farmers, and we've had great luck with farmers, and everything's been great. But then farmers came out a year or two ago, and they said, we don't really want to insure older buildings. Yep. And you guys own a bunch of old buildings. And so they dropped them, and he had to get licensed to go broker through other companies and go find us other insurance providers for those buildings, because they just said they don't want it. Just like State Farm left California, I believe. I don't even think State Farm's in California for residential insurance anymore. Yep. So there are certain markets like that. My gosh, if we were in California, this would be a very interesting conversation for us.
Yeah. Well, that's goes to my point number 1. Capital's going to flow our way. Our property is going to be worth more.
This is 1980s. This is 1980s California. I've been saying it for a while. Like the Northwest is the next frontier.
Ever since you said
I have never heard him.
No. So let's get Mike's take on this. We're done with insurance because insurance is boring. You just get a quote and you pay it. Who cares what it is?
Final take on this though. So right now you're underwriting a property. you have rents not appreciating, but expenses still going up. If you're going conservative, right?
Correct. Right now, I am underwriting properties with no rent increases for 2 years, and I'm assuming expense is increasing over those 2 years, and then I'm running at today's market rate. So I'm trying to chase today's, and then assuming rent increases after 2 years.
Yeah, that was the point of that whole thing. Is I think we have 2 years where we need to be even more conservative than you normally would be on.
But what really happens bad if you, you buy it, you overpay for a deal.
The philosophical principle, what's your thing you
so
say?
glad you said that. I'm like, does it fucking matter?
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
No, so,
I got to buy a building I wouldn't otherwise get to buy. I hang on to it for a long time.
So go into our conversation. If there's anything someone can pull out of this, the young guys in the room are so anxious about their projections and everything has to be right and our spreadsheet's so important. And the seasoned guys in the room are like, it doesn't fucking matter.
No, Gabe says don't underwrite a deal because you'll talk yourself out of buying it. That's also why you don't inspect it. So you just buy it and you're good to go.
Oh, you wanted to know my acquisition strategy?
Yes, okay.
Now let's go to some fun.
I told you it only took 18 seconds. Hold on, you already have it. You already have it.
Before we dive into that, I want you to tell him. I want you to tell him about your theory about Oregon being the next California, because we hear you say it all the time. But he's never heard you say it.
So I moved here from California. Don't hold that against me. I got here when I was 14 years old, so I feel like a native Oregonian.
He brings the cool Santa Cruz and none of the baggage along with it.
What I think, well, first off, I'll tell you that I do invest with partners that are in California. They call Oregon Northern California. Literally, that's what they call it. They don't call it Oregon. So they're taking over. I mean, that's what's happening. 9 out of 10 people that move to Oregon are from California. I don't know when you went to California last, but it feels like a totally different world, a totally different planet than what we live on in Oregon. But it's coming. There's only so many different places you can move to from California, and if you go east or south, you run out of water. I mean, if you follow natural resources and you follow quality of life and clean air and jobs and cost of living and all the other things, from the beginning of the time that they started tracking migration trends, people have always moved west. People just, for whatever reason, people move west, or they move specifically to the coastal
markets. Yeah.
And so when you look at how they migrate to the west, and then let's just take Washington, Oregon, California, and say, okay, here's our west coast. Where are people going to go that's affordable? And I mean, what I looked at when I got in the business is I looked at, okay, back in those days, I say a 2-bedroom unit is $800 a month. But if I go to Portland, it was $1,800 a month. Those numbers have equalized quite a bit more. They're a lot closer together than they were back then. But then if I went to Seattle, it was $2,800 a month. And if I went to San Francisco, it was $3,800 a month. Okay. So we are the last affordable place to live on the West Coast. And if migration trends prove correct, which COVID has sort of upended that a little bit because people have started kind of going inland a little bit. So Idaho has been popular, maybe Utah, Nevada, Arizona, and some of these other places have had people start to leave and go inland a bit. But I still believe that the natural trend is to travel towards the coastline. And I think that Oregon is just ripe for growth. So it reminds me of 1980s California. And so when I ask my clients, I'd say, if we could go back in time, I have a time machine. We're going to go back to 1980. We're in California. How much real estate do you want to buy? And the answer is unanimous.
All of it.
All of it. Mm-hmm. Right? Okay. Here we are, guys. We are in Oregon. This is 1980s California. How much of the real estate are we going to buy?
It just depends on what the projected expense ratio and
let's see where insurance goes first, and then we might grab a building.
We're trying to do right by our clients, all right?
Oh my god!
All right, so none of that was useful. Just buy every piece of real estate.
None of that was useful.
That part was useful. Buy all the real estate.
Buy all the real estate.
But then the podcast would only be like 3 minutes long. We'd have to stop.
My mom did call me this morning, and she told me that we had mentioned that you should buy all the real estate, but she wasn't sure how. So that'll come in another episode.
Right now we're about to talk about
acquisition strategy.
Oh shoot! Yeah.
Well, at first you have Trevor do a spreadsheet for her.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll send her Trevor's
And then you
spreadsheet.
send it to her without any description of what anything is and let her try and
You're
figure
going to
it
have to
out.
look up all 30 of those acronyms.
If you buy this building, it's going to make less and less money over time.
Do you know how many
You should buy this
spreadsheets I've had sent to me throughout the fucking years? It's the worst. Do not just send someone a...
Did they used to mail
I've
them?
sent you my
With no
spreadsheet.
context?
Well, even if there is context, you want me to look at 18 columns and 43 rows and... Like, I have mine.
I thought you liked looking at ours, so I sent you ours.
No,
and-
I didn't even look at it.
If you looked at Trevor's, you'd buy more apartments. They look pretty good.
Can you just do a spreadsheet on the overall model?
A calculator is an essential tool. It's not the way to talk about a deal.
It's a good point.
You're gonna have to give me more of that.
So people, okay, the best real estate book for anyone out there is Pitch Anything by Warren Clapp. Clapp, something like that. You pitch a spreadsheet, you're going to trigger their lizard brain. They're going to fall asleep. This is scary. I don't know. I'm not going to listen to anything. But if you talk about the story of the success that you've had and how this property is set up perfectly and you've done this and it's going to work here and this amazing story, you speak in terms of story, you communicate with someone that actually now wants to engage in this. And if you communicate via spreadsheet, like I'm a deal junkie. I love to talk about deals. Someone wants to talk about a deal and they send me a spreadsheet and immediately I don't even know how to start talking. I'm a fucking expert and I shut down when I get that sent to me. So how do you think your mom is?
She wasn't super responsive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't the number one rule in real estate location? That's what before I even got into real estate, they told me location, location, location. So where on the spreadsheet does it show your location?
in your average rents.
If it's 3,800, you know it's in California. If it's 28, you know it's in Seattle.
So there's a reason there's 3 locations. There's the city, there's the zip code, there's the street it is on.
Okay.
So when you say average rents, yes, that says the first location or maybe the second location, but you have to literally look at the street level. I had a friend that was so excited to buy a deal last week. I was in Mexico. I had so much fun when I was in Mexico shitting on his deal. And I mean, it's a long text thread, and I'm with my friend, and he's friends with him too. I'm like, dude, I feel, and he's like crying on the other end. The best part is our other friend's trying to wholesale it to him, so I know I'm killing one friend's wholesale deal while killing the dreams of another friend, but also saving him from buying a piece of shit. It looked amazing on paper. Most amazing property in real estate on paper. You go to the street and you just don't buy it.
So Gabe has a different theory because I came in hearing location. Gabe told me he would buy any piece of real estate anywhere if it made sense dollar-wise. And I have mixed feelings on it because we've bought some pieces of shit.
Yeah, because he's detached from the Main Street aspect of that reposition.
Well, and I think we should clarify too. Mike lives more in a 1 to 4 unit residential world than I do. I live in the apartment. You know, this is just are there people there that need a place to live? And a bad neighborhood or a bad part of town isn't necessarily deal killer for me. Especially if we can buy a really crappy property in a nicer area and we can improve it. I love the idea because now you're not going to over improve. You can just bring it up to the level of the surroundings.
Yeah, C-class tenants with B-class properties and A-class locations.
Yep.
We buy D-class locations with C-class property that we bring down to D-class location.
Wait a second.
No, I'm just kidding.
Where is a D location? Somebody would have to tell me.
So
where
this street is the one D location in Portland.
What is it? What street?
So 111th and Sandy. I flipped the 4 unit on the corner. We had 3 murders on that street.
Over what time period, though?
It took me 12 months to flip a 20,000, like
That's not bad.
How much?
2 units we didn't even turn. The problem is we get it on the market, we get it occupied, and someone would die, a murder, someone would move out. Now it's not occupied. And then you get it rented, and someone else moves out, and then the other person's in eviction, and then the neighbor's storing 8 cars, and
the tenants got murdered, or just people in the
no, there's an RV park across the street doing drugs, and here's the best part: the community police center was on the next block over.
Oh.
And I even talked to an officer before I bought the property on the
Was
corner.
that strategic on their part?
I don't know.
Or were they already there when all the crime showed up?
They were there when the crime showed up. This is part of So this is gentrification.
I want to set up a drug ring. I think I'll do it next to this crime center. This looks like a good spot.
Sorry to sidetrack us.
So we wanted to dive into how do you buy these D-class properties and actually find them and acquire them?
So you flip them. You don't hold them, in my opinion. You buy them, you reposition them, you find someone else. Because you don't want to manage it. You don't want the inconsistent cash flow. Like, what's best about your portfolio? It's probably the consistency in the cash flow you have. When you're
no.
You guys,
hey,
hey, let's talk about your portfolio pre-meeting these guys. Your repositioned portfolio that is consistent in its, like, because I've got a portfolio that has mostly A and B class. I've got some C class. I flipped a handful of C class stuff and flipped them to clients that we then managed it for. I sold my client portfolio off because of the bandwidth that asset class took on my staff. Now, when you're at Gabe's level and he has a huge company and he's got a ton of staff and he's looking at it from the financials, I agree with that. I have to think of I have to think at the micro level of, if I buy this, what's the distraction to my staff? Does that make sense? Because we're limited.
I think I do the same thing, actually. I call it trading stock. So you call it flipping because you're in the residential space and you're selling and paying taxes. When I buy something and I look at it and I go like, yeah, we're going to buy that, but it's not going to stay on my schedule of real estate forever. Right. Like, this is going to be in 2 to 5 years. At some point, we're going to trade that into something else. So I do buy properties, and sometimes we buy them and we think this for sure is going to be something we sold. Trevor and I bought a 14 unit a couple of years ago. We said, this thing sucks. Like, we're going to get this thing turned around in a year. We're going to sell it, get off of it. Then we landed a contract with the county to lease up, to do a master lease on the whole project. And now it's one of our favorite properties. Mm-hmm. And so the rent roll and the financials of it changed the dynamic. And we said, okay, we'll probably hang on to that one long term now. Plus, we spent a lot of money on it. So all the work has been done. But when we first bought it, we said we had to buy it. It was part of a portfolio. We tried to kick it out of the portfolio, and the owner said, nope, if you want it, you got to take this turd with it. So we took it. And now it's our favorite property in that portfolio. So things change.
Part of why it's your favorite is you have a real consistent income stream now with the master lease. You probably didn't expect buying it.
So going back to return on equity, which is something we talk about a lot, is if you've got stuff in your portfolio that's got a ton of equity and it's not making you a lot of cash flow, these are properties that should be identified to be rolled into other properties. In your world, you're actually selling and generating cash.
Yes.
You're generating that profit and putting that back into your bank account to go out and do more deals. And for you, it's like, okay, here's one we're going to buy and hold. Here's one we're going to buy and flip. We're really no different. We're buy and hold, except for maybe buy and hold might not be as long term as we do. We might buy and hold forever, but then there are some properties where we say that's probably not a forever hold. We'll identify that as something that as it gets to a certain level, we'll sell that and we'll roll into something else.
Yeah, we just have different time frames we work inside of.
Yep.
So I was saying D-class properties a little tongue-in-cheek. We just want to know your actual
Wait, what is a D-class?
He doesn't know.
Do our listeners know A, B, C, D? Because I don't even really know. I think D just sounds like it's really bad.
Well, I think James told me that means it has to be demolished. And it's
would that be F? We're going to have to be an F for me to knock it down.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
I don't know.
You're going to buy some barracks. I'd say here. You got to with.
Oh, we are buying some barracks, actually.
We are buying barracks. Talk about a stomach for some shitty housing.
How do you know?
That's what we talked about last episode.
Oh, okay.
No, I wanted to dive into how are you actually finding all these properties that you're buying, and like, do you have a team of people?
Yeah,
let's dive into the details of what that looks like. And
I was thinking, Monday nights become my worst fucking night to sleep because we have the podcast in the morning and I think about this shit. And I was going to come here and talk about, like, I consider myself a trader, but I trade on short time frames because that's how I generate income so I can buy real estate. And so specifically, my strategy is I have an acquisition company that flips houses, because the reality is 2 out of 10 leads we get, 2 of them are long-term time frames, 8 of them are short-term time frames. And so I use those short-term time frames to create income and to keep my acquisition machine going, so that way I can pull off the 20%. And just hold it.
It's his now money business.
Which, yes. No, I really like it because it's a combination of both. Because the problem we run into is like, okay, we can go acquire, build a system to acquire, but how do you make now money to keep on supporting that system you built? You do it through the flipping.
The development company.
Yeah. If we're trying to do that, how do we do that if we're trying to hold everything?
So this is where I come down to, like, well, you're starting to get it and you're starting to do it where it's land value. if you can extract land value and see where you can extract land value, you can have your two entities working together. So I've got that now. I'm writing a case study on now where this didn't make sense as a flip. It was right in the crash. So July, August of 2022. So real estate halted. Had an opportunity to buy it. I talked to the person a couple years prior. We were talking about a price seller financing. He came back. He was good with the same price, but not seller financing. So it was a risky flip. It wouldn't be a burr. It wouldn't cash flow. And although it was a great piece to tear it down and build 4 units or keep the house and build 2, it wasn't the right time to get a acquisition development loan. So what I did is I bought it with my holding company, because now my holding company has capital. It doesn't need the cash flow. It goes in and buys the asset, does the condo conversion, creates the condo plat. Then we sell or finance that lot to our development company. So now our development company is only bringing its balance sheet to the table. It doesn't have to bring any cash. So the holding company paid for all the soft cost, came up with a price for the lot, built that into the financing. So when we recorded, the lot price included all the soft costs that the holding company paid. So the holding company's funding a development deal. We buy it, just do a deed, just recorded a deed, transferred ownership over. Now it's a free and clear property because we don't record the seller financing, get a construction loan based off our balance sheet, pull the first draw, which is the soft cost draw, reimburse my holding company. Now my holding company's good. We've divided the property. We've refinanced off our acquisition, our bridge debt into long-term debt. And now we've extracted the land value. So when those units sell in May, we're getting our initial capital back that created that LLC. We're going to get $75,000 of cash. We've got a lot of equity in that company, and now we have that cash and the original capital to go buy more real estate with. So that's where, like, I love the ecosystem. Gabe's ecosystem, he has a big property management company and a big brokerage, and so that's his cash machine, and those are his leading indicators to the deals that he buys. So it's the same strategy with different companies running the model.
So what should our cash machine be?
What are you good at and what do you enjoy?
I started a plumbing company.
Fucking bedbug guy over here.
Back at it again.
So that's the beauty. That's the double-edged sword in real estate. You can do so many things and you can be so profitable. What do you enjoy and what do you like to do?
I really want to buy long-term assets and build a portfolio.
That's not what you want to do. That's fucking boring. That's what you want. But what do you want to do? Because you can get to that point in a lot of different arenas.
That's all he wants to do. I can't wait to have Paul Curley on the show because Trevor is Paul Curley. You are the 27-year-old Paul Curley. That's all he did. If you go back and look at his schedule of real estate, he owns the first rental house he bought 40 years ago. And I mean, Trevor does the same thing. It's like, but the answer to your question is that's boring because there's no payday until way, way, way down the road.
Not even that, because what I enjoy, I like the negotiation. I like lining up the financing, and
sure.
But I don't like the management. I don't like the cash flow doesn't excite me. The equity's cool when you play with it, but that's like 5 days out of a year. So the portfolio is a fucking ego piece, right? It creates there's a lot of benefit to it, but that doesn't excite me. And so I like the acquisition. I love the deal. So that the acquisition company makes sense for me because that's what gets me excited about life.
How many employees do you have at the
4? Just 4 total.
At the acquisition company?
No, 1 in the acquisitions, 1 integrator, and then 2 in property management.
So what is the acquisition employee? Like, what is, they're cold calling all day? They're sending mailers?
They're essentially a relationship manager. And so they manage all of our marketing campaigns, whether they are. They bring in all the leads come in. One of our campaigns, I disperse some stuff, but he just follows up with all the people that we need to follow up with, and he just makes sure that the reality. So, and then my job is to make sure he's not shiny object bullshit. It's like I just want to know all the good stuff, and we keep each other in tune on all the good stuff.
So, do you give him like a list of all these people, or do you say, I want this type of property, figure out how to contact these people? Go for it.
I give him the strategy and he creates the list. So, we've got a cold calling campaign that has its own list generation. We've got a direct mail campaign that has its own list generation. We're always doing drive for dollars. We're always trying to connect with the people in the community of the real estate that we buy.
Yeah.
And then it's networking. Like that's the other, I mentioned, I can't remember if it's on this or some other, like, I'd be an idiot not to state the benefit of the momentum I have from being in the market for 10 years. Like there's a baseline of deals we're going to do just because we've existed for 10 years. People know who we are and the phone rings just because of who we are. So there's value in that, but you always want to just build that momentum up, right? So early on, it was like, 3-4 years in, we could bank on 1 or 2 repeat sellers a year. We can bank on 1 or 2 things. Now, 10 years in, it's like, okay, well, that realtor's going to bring us a couple of deals a year. That realtor's going to bring us a couple. We're going to get a couple repeat sellers. And so now you have a baseline of like 5 to 10 deals per year, and you're still going, you still have those motions out. And so now what my acquisitions manager just gets to do is manage the ecosystem. And then my integrator, he's on the project management side. We just hire GCs, and then I've got a property manager and then a maintenance guy. So we're pretty lean at this point.
And those are all salaried? Yeah. Or hourly?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. That makes it seem a whole lot easier than it was in my head.
It used to be a lot more difficult.
I was like, we got to hire like 14 VAs.
Well, we did. We had 10 or 12. We've got 2 VAs that don't. So we had 10 or 12 employees, and we skimmed down. We got it really complicated. And that's where what I'd hate to see you two do are so good at acquisition and negotiation and finance, get distracted with the bullshit that comes with brokerage and building distractions.
What do you clarify on that? In terms of making now money from brokerage, or just enjoy
No, so if you enjoy brokerage,
sure,
dig into it. But I don't know a lot of people that enjoy.
What if you don't enjoy brokerage?
Then don't. Right?
No, I think
if you enjoy leading people to brokerage and helping them succeed, then you build a team. If you love representing buyers and sellers, you be a broker. Right? So for me, it's all about, there's so many ways to make money. You need to make money in the industry and pull your deals out of it, but make sure you're making money in a way that makes you excited to get up in the morning.
Yeah.
So and I've done every role. Like I was a leasing agent, I've done all that. The worst part of my life was when I was each role in the property management company. That sucked. When I was the project manager, that sucked. Early on, I wasn't involved I didn't raise financing. That was my business partner's prop. So I did the acquisitions and the project management and the property management. It was fun for 1/3 of my job.
So should you have hired out right away for the other roles, or do you have, that's just part of the game, you got to play those roles as you're growing?
I go back and forth on this. Like I found value in learning by doing. And so for me, I think that benefits me. I also don't have grand aspirations to have a $50 million company. If you want to go fast and you don't need to learn everything and you're the who, not how type person, then just scale. That's just not me. That's not my personality.
The scaling part with the who, not how is the biggest thing I've learned recently.
Yeah.
Because we tried to do everything ourselves.
So here's the true
hitting
story.
The roadblocks.
Tried is past tense.
You're still trying.
We still try to do everything ourselves.
Well, what's your hiring process? And who are you hiring for? Do you have a clear plan on what you're hiring for?
Yes to that, but the hiring process did not exist. And then we hired and did not realize we didn't have a process.
That's fine. That happened for us our first time.
Yeah. I think that was fine though, because we did hire the right person. If we would have done that with a VA, it wouldn't have worked.
You did hire the right person.
I think, we hired the right person for sure, and just didn't realize that
we didn't have any systems.
She knew how to do what she was supposed to do, but not within our company, and we didn't give a super clear game plan.
So did you fire this person?
No. She's probably going to listen to this episode. Sabrina, you're doing great.
Sabrina,
it's our bad.
Kudos to not getting fired.
It's our bad.
Sticking in with these guys that are
no, she's killing it because she's just a hard worker and she wants to build the brokerage side. And that was perfect for us because she already knew how to broker and we knew how to get the leads. And she's frankly probably a better broker than we are in terms of well,
that's what you guys do well. You understand marketing, you understand systems, you understand acquisition. You're learning, right? You're still fucking young. Do you know what I was doing at 24?
Smoking weed, doing crack.
I've never done crack.
Straight into it.
You got to try it.
Doing crack.
I was buying my first house and starting my first company, but I wasn't thinking in the ways that you guys are thinking from a scale standpoint. I wasn't marketing wasn't even on my fucking QuickBooks was a really big deal for me at that point in time. So you need to understand that you are young, you're going to make mistakes. And it sounds like you did find the right person and you potentially have them in the right seat. And you guys understand the seats that you need to be in around them. That's the ecosystem of a company. And if you're happy, Is this like exciting to wake up to in the morning?
Oh yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it is for, I don't know. I'm pretty fired up right now. Yeah.
Let me ask this. Do you want to go manage tenants? Do you want to go manage projects?
No.
We want to do what you're talking about.
So you're doing
I like the
relationships.
acquire. Yeah. Meeting people.
And this is, and one reason why Gabe and I are drawn to you guys is you're relational. You understand how to bring value. You think in levels that even we don't think on. So when we have a conversation, you bring value to us, right? So that's a relational, how I see it is relational leadership. So what you should be doing, or ultimately will be doing, is raising capital, creating big relationships, and then ultimately you have your ecosystem below and you're filling them, you're giving them the support they need from down below, but then also filling them with work by bringing the necessary elements of their job to the table.
That's perfect.
Yeah. How did you get over like the delegation part and scaling? Because I'm assuming like our problem was we tried to do everything ourselves.
Yep.
Dane tells me I need to be doing this for X, Y, and Z reason.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why do you need to be doing that?
Yeah. No, I did say that.
Yeah.
And then you.
Dane
you
thought
gave
he
me
was the only person who could talk to sellers.
That is not true. That is not true. I did say that for creative deal structures, I thought that I should be making the cold calls.
Oh, the
and then it
ego's
became
strong in the
whoa. And then it became very, very clear, very quick, because I just hadn't thought about it. It was like, well, that's my role. Like, I just enjoy cold calling and I like having conversations with sellers. Gabe's the same way. You're going to talk to a seller for like 2 hours, and the relationship's there.
I did it yesterday.
And you didn't even talk about a property. Did you?
No, we talked about
what's his granddaughter's name? Like, that's where
we had a wonderful. It was an elderly lady. I met her husband on a Zoom call. We had a wonderful time. Sorry, Trevor. I think that 110 is going to win the Portland deal.
Hey, yeah, check this out. We offered against Gabe on a deal. Gabe was in our LLC.
As they're competing in my backyard.
They got 2 offers and they called and they said, well, we have 2 offers, but they're both from Gabe.
Yeah.
So it was Gabe and Paul, and then us and Gabe.
I get on the Zoom call and I said, I'm a little embarrassed that you got 2 offers for me, but it also warms my heart, that I'm part of these partnerships that are out doing deals and I don't even know about them. Yeah. And now I'm here on a call with you today.
You were meant to have this conversation yesterday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We're coming at you from 2 different angles here.
Yeah. It was meant to be that they talked to you for 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So like, that's what I see you guys doing. And then you have those same conversations with raising capital, but you had a question that didn't get answered before Dane
rudely come
before Dane's ego jumped in.
Yeah,
I got
told us how good he is at talking.
Oh, the question. Yeah, so
I don't think that was the end of the story.
So who
you are good.
Like, how do you get good at delegating? And the first is the ego gets us in the way of delegating. I was the other thing I'd say is every successful entrepreneur I've talked to struggled to get past this point, which is just surrendering and releasing everything.
It seems like once you do that, though, you get to take
that's
off.
Freedom, because that's ultimately what you want, and you get to the point where you can get there and you don't do it. That's what entrepreneurs do. And so how do you break through that glass? For me, I got lucky. I was separated. I was going to have my daughter full time. I got sick. So
that
now
sound lucky.
I'm a full-time dad.
You haven't met his ex-wife.
They're amicable.
Neither have you.
I have an amazing mother to my children. So I was forced to step away from my business, which forced my staff to step up. And at the same time, so I went to an event, an entrepreneurial event so my first Go Abundance event. Had my daughter full-time prior to the event, went to the event, came back, had my daughter full-time, got sick. She got sick. My business partner got sick. So I wasn't in the office for like 3 weeks. And my staff just stepped up. They just did what was necessary. And so I was out of town. They had to step up for that. And then I came back and so they just were forced into that position. And then they all rose to the occasion. And when I said I got to 10 or 12 staff, the 4 that are with us, 3 of them were with us at that time. And those 3 were also hires that were not part of our hiring system. Those 3 were they chased me down to hire them. And then our 4th was someone that we took a risk on, hired him in property management, and they came from New Seasons Management. We specifically hired them because they weren't tainted by other property management companies, and they had people leadership skills.
So you built out this pretty big team of people doing this thing. how do you spin off enough now money to pay for it all and float it all? Because development is the way to go. But that's a long-term.
Well, no, let me frame. No, so my property management company pays like the recurring revenue from property. The goal, recurring revenue from property management pays for all the overhead. And then brokerage income is just excess income, and development and income is my salary.
So we need to start a competing property management company to Gabe.
I was actually going to say.
Well, good luck with that.
I know, he's already in my backyard. I'm like, fuck.
Can't beat him, join him.
I'm not putting magenta fucking signs. I can't get past that.
It's a pretty clean purple and green.
It is. Is it purple?
Yeah,
it is purple.
I think
So, Trevor, I think you're asking a question that Mike and I can't answer. You're asking us to answer a question only you can answer.
Yeah.
And that is, what do you want to be doing with your day? What gets you excited? And if just buying and holding real estate is what gets you excited, that's great. But you got to figure out how you're going to live on no money until, you start being able to borrow against those assets and take the money. So you have to have a now money game, and you have to have a tomorrow money game.
I don't want any now money.
Mike is really good at building now money business. You're building this empire. You're building wealth. You're building for something for way down the road, and you're young, and it's going to turn you into a billionaire, and that's excellent. But for now, you're wondering, how do I put more money in my pocket right now?
I need more Chipotle.
Well, what?
Chipotle owes you by now.
You could be a spokesperson probably for
Jared.
Chipotle.
I don't want to end up like Jared.
In 2020,
gotta buy a big pair of pants. I had Chipotle 250 times in 2021, and now I look like this. Disclaimer: these aren't mine.
For me, I love brokering, and I enjoy it because it's very people intensive. And so, but one of the things that happened for me, I didn't have to do this on a spreadsheet. I just looked in 2022. It was a great year in real estate. We're all making money. We're hopefully, if you weren't making money in 2022 and you're in real estate, get out of real estate, because that was the year we all made a lot of money. The first 6 months of 2022, I started off the year the best first half I had ever had. I was generating huge amounts of fee income. And I was excited, and I was patting myself on the back for doing such a great job. And I pulled out my schedule of real estate, and I updated my values, and I realized that my portfolio made me 5 times more in equity than I made in brokerage fees. So that shifted my mindset a little. Back in my car business days, I used to tell people, you can't eat equity. And so there's one of our closing tools is, it doesn't matter if you pay cash for the car, you owe 10 grand more for the car. Who cares? If you can afford the payment, you like the car, drive the car, buy the car, who cares, right? Same thing's happening with Trevor right now. He's got a portfolio of real estate. It's got a bunch of equity, but your equity isn't buying you any Chipotle unless it's cash flow. You got a little bit of cash flow trickling in. Okay. So it's not buying you as much Chipotle as you want it to buy. You want to make more money. Well, building this empire that you're building, it's going to take time because we're playing the appreciation game, and appreciation is slow. You want to build a now money business, and one way is to do it as brokerage. One way is to start a plumbing company, do these other things, right?
I don't want to build a now money business. I want to build an acquisitions team to acquire more later money, but I don't know how to pay for them without the now money.
That's what Mike just described to you, what he just did. He just told you the answer to that one.
Well, he's telling me to develop.
Yeah, but we won't.
That's like
no.
years.
I'm saying do it. No. Well,
he's calling flip.
Okay. Are you independently wealthy?
Well,
are you independently wealthy?
What do you mean by that?
Definition.
Are you?
What's the definition?
No.
Can you retire today? Are you independently wealthy?
Oh, yeah. I live off 12 grand a year. What do you mean?
No, that is a fucking miserable lifestyle. Can you live happy and retire today?
Comfortably.
Okay, then.
Rich dad bullshit. Like, fuck that. No. Are you independently wealthy? You can buy what you want, do what you want, say fuck you to whoever you like. Are you independently wealthy?
I want to say yes, but Corey, you want me to say no, so I'll say no.
You are not.
Keep going.
What you want is independent wealth, and you want that, but you're not independently wealthy, so you need now money, and you need momentum of asset ownership to get there. So you may not want a business that makes now money, but you have no choice but to create it.
Okay. You can build, like you're building your brokerage team, and I mean, you guys can generate a ton of fee income without having to flip a house or do any of that.
You could just be brokers for 5 years and retire. or you can build a brokerage that you retire in 3 years that's still here in 10 and 15. So it's just, what do you want to, like, I know that when I have the portfolio that makes me answers all the questions I just asked, I'll still be bored as fuck if I don't have an acquisition company injecting me with cap rates and cash. Like, So that's why I built a development company, because I'm looking beyond retirement.
Yeah. What gets you excited?
Buying properties.
Okay. No, then you're doing what you need to be doing. Yeah. You're just saying you'd like to have more money right now.
I would like to figure out how to sustain a team to buy more than we're buying now.
So so you can create more money through the business you're creating, through actual creating money. You can get different capital structures. Like, there's the other arena, which is now just have different capital relationships. Like, you've got one really good relationship with Gabe. Go find 4 more Gabes. Now you have 5. That's another solution to the table. But then you're going to have to continue living off 10 grand this year. Do you want to live off 12 grand this year?
That part I don't care as much about. I want to sustain a team. I probably need
why do you want to sustain a team?
To buy more real estate. So I want the acquisition.
Is your team helping you buy real estate?
I don't know. I don't really have a team.
Okay, I've got the answer. So your now money business, if you're gonna do acquisitions and build a now money business, you have to buy cash flowing properties. You have to go do economic deals, which means you have to leave Oregon. You have to get into trailer parks. You got to get into storage units. You got to get into different types of acquisitions in different parts of the country. You can now generate an income. And one of the best business models I've ever seen is I might have already talked about this, but there's a guy who owns, I think, more than half of his portfolio is like trailer parks in the middle states. And then the rest of his portfolio is multifamily on the coastal states. And so he uses the cash machine in the middle states to build his empire, to build his balance sheet, to build his team, so that he can go out and acquire the properties that are going to grow in value over time. So he has cash flow, and it's the lifeblood of your company, but it allows him to go stack up these assets in the coastal states so that he can build a ton of appreciation. And every once in a while, maybe you sell one of these coastal properties and you go buy 2 more trailer parks that generate cash. And now this is his sort of like what, on a larger scale of what Mike and I are doing, where you go, well, this is trading stock and this is something that we're going to hold. There are different reasons why you hold different properties. So you're currently focused on this market, and this market is only going to give you one thing, and that's appreciation. If you want the cash flow and you want to just focus on buying real estate every day, all day, you got to leave Oregon.
All right, see you guys later.
And with that, we have an opening for a co-host.
Which means we're going to need a jet at some point, right?
PJ by 30.
I like that answer better. Co-host to spot filled.
No, I think that your issue is that when we see the goal and we have a plan for how to get to that goal, you want it to happen in the next 2 or 3 weeks. And we're playing a game that is inherently a 10-year game.
It's a long game.
It's a decade game, right? And
Longer
I think that we're going to end up at our 10-year goal in 5 years, but you want it in 1, and we can't see how to get there.
I'm over 10 years in, or I'm actually not. I'm about 10 years in. I still haven't seen my first big hit. It still hasn't come yet.
Yeah.
It's funny, I was literally just thinking this. I had the same epiphany about your same age. 24, bought my first house, was buying my second one. And I bought new pre-construction. So when I closed on it, I had all this equity. And then I made a decision to hold it because I didn't want to pay 50% tax. Bad decision, by the way. But I remember that decision put that seed in my head, which is exactly what you're struggling with, is buying and holding real estate is a really long path to where you want to get to. And that's where you need some type of velocity in there, because building a portfolio is a longer, unless you go into a different state and then you'd use the same principles in a different arena.
Yeah, but insurance is getting really expensive out there. So
right.
Cash flows down.
But it's funny because it's that thought that then turned me into a deal junkie, because then I was just an appraiser and I didn't think about buying real estate. But then I was like, well, shit, I got to earn how much money to save 1 down payment per year to buy 10 properties in 10 years to not really be that happy. That sucks. And so then I got more aggressive. How do I buy more real estate? And that's when I started forming partnerships and then learning lessons about shitty partnerships. And yeah, so I see exactly what you're struggling with. But yeah, you want to get aggressive because you're not patient. You're like a
That's so leading back to what he said, we try to do our goals too fast and then we set too many rocks and things we need to do.
Got distracted.
And then and just too many tasks. Like we'll have like 8 scorecard metrics and then we can't hit them because we're trying to do too many things at once. So the hard part is which one do you start with?
Yeah, your zone of genius. What's your core zone of genius?
Knowing Gabe.
Just for
Now you just need 4 more.
They're so easy to come by.
You got Mike. There's 2.
Well, apparently Gabe whores himself out. He got multiple offers from Gabe. I can't wait to put it.
This is a bad partner over here. He's competing against us on a deal.
I want to go put a 10 unit on the market just to see if I can get 5 offers from Gabe. We'll price it really low.
I was actually the worst partner in that deal. I told him to go with Gabe. Yeah.
He was brokering the deal and told them to go with the deal that Dane was not part of.
Does that warrant a referral fee?
He's just
He's
just really good at talking to sellers.
Is this your new acquisition strategy?
I was talking to the broker, and she was like, "So, Gabe's in both of them, and then there's another borrower in each. So." And I was like, yeah, I know who both of the people you're talking about are. And she was like, yeah, so we're just kind of trying to make a decision. So could you send over a bio for your guy? And I was like, well, if the other guy sends a bio over,
let's just stop the conversation.
Like, I don't really want to write a bio up so I can go lose a deal.
Yeah. Well, are you going to ask Paul to write a bio?
Yeah. I was like, so
does mine go next to Paul's?
Yeah.
I'll just step aside.
So to give you the answer, if you're just going to acquire properties in and around Oregon or the Northwest, Paul Curley lived in his own fourplex for over 25 years. He drove a 20-year-old Toyota pickup truck. I mean, he did not live the life you see him live today. He spent decades inching it along till finally something cash flows and he can finally build a team. And it just took a long time to get there. You're trying to fast track your way to get there. And I think there is a way to do it. But if you do it exactly like Paul did, you'll end up exactly where Paul is, but it's just going to take time. You're going to be 50 or 60 years old before you really see the fruits of your labor.
And you also have the ability to do both, because you have the ability to live like Paul, but you also can build a business. And if you do successfully build a business alongside of building your portfolio.
So last week, Gabe kind of shit on my idea of building a business. So I came in with a new vision this week, and now you guys are shutting it down again.
That's our
so now I'm just confused. I don't know what to do.
Well, how have you been? What's contradictive in your brain?
So Gabe told me to stop worrying about the business part and go buy all the real estate last week.
Well, you say you don't need any money, but I didn't know your goal was to make now money to pay for staff.
Yeah.
I don't really understand what this staff is going to do. So you have to tell me what they do and how much they need to make.
This acquisition team he has that's constantly giving him deals so he can sit right here and not have to be the one to find deals is what I want.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I've been doing it for 13 years.
But you didn't have you. I have you. I have Gabe. I have Paul.
That helps, but it doesn't get you all the way there.
Smart.
So,
and you have me.
I'm doing you a disservice if I don't do it faster.
This is true. I need better deals. You need to fill up my pipeline.
Ego man.
You're right. I'm not that hopeful.
So, but you also I didn't start to lead people really until 2015, 2016. So you're already like how old was I? 37, 38?
Quick question. Sorry. You guys ask us how old we are at the beginning of each podcast. How old are you guys? You were 37 and 20.
Beautifully aged at 45.
Okay.
I'm 48.
Okay.
Old enough to have a black and white beard.
I'm old enough to have kids that are all older than you.
All right, fair point. That's all I need to know. All right, sorry, Mike, cut you off.
So you were already you're reading books I didn't read. You're learning. You're being like, dude. You know my friends. you're already creating relationships that weren't even on my radar when I was your age. And so you have the ability to do these things. So now you're getting contradictory advice from Gabe because you didn't understand your plan because it's changed a little bit. So if you plan to hire, you need revenue to pay for those hires. And then what's your plan to create the revenue? And then how fast? Because you're going to have expenses before you have revenue. And so now it's that game. And that's the hardest game to learn that I've seen a lot of people do that we went through, which is you ramp up expense to get revenue, to ramp up expense to get revenue. You need to get revenue ahead of expenses. And one way to do that is to get some really good deals as you're building that business.
That's what we were just talking about this morning.
Here's the thing about brokers. If you build a brokerage team, you don't have to pay them until you do a deal, and then they get a commission. Mm-hmm. I've made more money on brokers that don't work for SMI than I do on brokers that work for SMI. So everybody thinks that I have this brokerage and all the deals are just flowing to me. Owning the brokerage definitely gave me the street cred to go out and do deals, but I'm making more money on Marcus and Millichap deals and HFO deals than I'm making on SMI deals. You don't have to pay anybody to bring you deals. Yeah. You just have to close deals and show them you're a good buyer. You don't mess around. You write offers. You can get financing. You can close a deal and you can get a broker paid. And you always make sure your brokers are taken care of. And guess what? Every broker on the planet will bring you deals. You don't have to pay them anything.
That's such good, for beginners getting into the wholesale arena. You do not want a reputation for not closing deals. And the bigger you get in the asset class, the more important that is. So Gabe just has a stellar reputation for closing deals. So people bring him deals. The same with us at a lower scale level. So
Trevor has tried to start a wholesaling company probably 4 or 5 times.
I would 100%
since we started working together. No, the thing is every time he does it, he doesn't realize he's starting a wholesaling company until we're 70% way of the way through the play. So we need to hire a VA, and then they're going to make all these called off-market owners, and we're going to try to buy the deals. But then if we can't buy it, we'll just sell it to somebody else. So we might have to put it under contract first. I was like, we're doing it again. How do we keep getting back to this? But it's for a new asset class every time. So,
but that makes sense. That's a really easy way. We fill up our pipeline, it overflows, and then you pass that overflow on. Mm-hmm. That's not how you're going to successfully build a brokerage. And so you need to look at it from, if that's what you want to do is build a brokerage team, what's going to make them successful? You having overflow deals is not going to be what makes them successful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's not the plan. We have a good plan. Yeah, Trevor's got a class.
Trevor's got a class.
Soon to be a webinar.
All right. Well, this was therapy session again.
You could be a real estate celebrity. I think there's money in that. You do your classes, your podcasts, your meetups.
Public speaking is my greatest fear, so it's not going to work out.
Dude, get 5 times on stage and that'll change.
Yeah.
You're already doing it.
I've gotten better at it. Because I talked to Mike about it at the beginning because I was like, I really don't want to do this. And he's like, just do it.
Bitch.
When you're talking about something, you have command of the material that you're going to deliver, it'll give you more confidence. I mean, when you're teaching your class and it's your slide and it's your presentation, you know it. It's a lot. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And everybody's there to hear what you have to say. I've seen you speak in public and you're great.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Wow. So acquisition strategy, we didn't land on any particular answer other than you build a team.
We landed on the answers they wanted because this podcast is selfishly for them. Did you want to get into our acquisition theory and strategy? I think that's what you told us yesterday.
We lied to you guys. We just wanted to know how we could help ourselves. But we can talk about that if you would like. It's your podcast too.
Hear me out. We're young guys. Hopefully we got young listeners. We're just asking the questions they want to hear the answers to. Yeah.
Don't do a bad deal.
Everybody has the same goals.
I'll give you the esoteric answer. It's just like you guys asked in a couple episodes ago. You asked how to get good people, how to hire good people, and I said you've got to attract good people. It's the same thing with deals. You have to attract good deals. So you have to find a way to become a magnet. You got to get your head right. You got to get your energy right. And you got to do all of the weird ethereal, spiritual things that Paul talks about, and just manifest it. You want more deals? Manifest it. You want more money? Manifest it. It's all right here.
That seems much easier.
It is.
Just go to Costa Rica and do an ayahuasca ceremony and come back. And that's what Melissa Dorman did.
That is true. She gave us a presentation on it.
Wow.
And
I have the same haircut as her right
now. She's actually hotter than you are.
I shaved my mustache though, so it's we're getting back.
Well, do you want to dive into more, or do you want to cut it there?
No, I mean, that's exactly it. Is you become a magnet. That's the analogy. It's you become a magnet. But there's just a lot of work to get there. And don't fuck people over. Don't burn bridges. End relationships that need to be ended, but don't burn a bridge doing it. Don't do a bad deal. Get lots of eyes on all of your deals. Like Kyle Hansen's a really good example. I gave him advice on, I asked 4 other people. They gave me all the same advice, but you added this other little piece. He didn't buy that. So there's just rely on the people that you have around you. Don't make it that. Just don't buy a bad deal. Don't do that.
Any more bad deals, you mean?
Yeah, any more bad deals.
Yeah, look at me. Don't buy a bad deal.
You have to buy one bad deal to figure it out.
Yeah.
To learn the lesson of not to buy any more.
See, I have, but every time I send you guys a bad deal, you just immediately shoot it down.
So do you want to know why it's bad?
I sent, it doesn't even matter. It can be anything. And I send it to you guys and everybody gives me the same 3 reasons. I sent you that condo up in Portland. Shot it down. So Trevor and I were so excited about that.
Oh.
Just murdered.
Thank you, Mike. You saved us some money.
Yeah. So
you saved us money.
Here's part about what being a magnet. Like, this is so counter. And I bet you probably agree with me, Gabe. The more dreams you kill, the more people respect you. Mm. And why? Because we're just experienced enough to know this is such a wasted time. Don't even ask me any other fucking questions. Be happy. You'll figure it out. 10 months from now, you'll look back and go, oh, well. Yeah. You just don't know it yet. And so don't waste the time figuring it out.
Mm-hmm. And don't force it.
Yeah.
Don't go do a deal just because you really want to do a deal.
Have you read The Surrender Experiment?
No.
Michael Singer?
No. Should I?
Yeah, it's good. It's good. He reminds me of Paul Curley and Brian Murray in one.
Interesting.
What's his name?
Michael Singer.
Michael Singer.
He started some the software that hospitals use to communicate. He created that. So he's billionaire yogi living out in the woods in Tennessee. Really good book.
I'll have it finished by next week and have a full report for you.
It actually, and he's got a course on Audible, Living a Life of Surrender. Like that'd be good for you, you impatient little child.
I do think that should be emphasized more and more for him and I. The thing you just said, don't force deals. Yeah. Because every deal that we've tried to force that you've told us 3 months prior, for whatever reason, you'd look at it and just kind of, I don't know if, not say much. And then 3 months later, it falls apart and we should have just
It's the opportunity cost of the time spent on that while we could have looked for another deal.
Yeah.
What you're developing is instinct. And to Mike's point is you're young, you're doing it, you're developing the instinct. You want to have our instinct or Paul's instinct right now, and you're not going to have that. And you need to fail a little bit. I mean, Dane says he doesn't want to lose any money, but you're not going to develop the instinct you need until you lose some money.
I'm doing every deal with you so I can be tied onto only good deals.
That's weak. That's weak.
And that's
get off the tit.
Not only do you need to lose money, you need to lose money on a good deal. Like you can do things wrong on a good deal and lose money, and that is almost as good, if not better, learning lesson.
And that is my acquisition strategy is partners. And how did I get started? I got started with partners. Then I found partners that wanted to buy bigger deals, and I got a very small piece of those deals. Now my schedule of real estate says I own a lot more doors, and then I can start getting into bigger deals on my own because the banks see and everybody sees that I've done bigger deals. Even if I only own 1%, 5%, 10%, it doesn't really matter. So I like the idea of taking on partnerships. But you guys are hyper focused on building the portfolio, and that is kind of my side hobby. I do that for fun, but I run a business because I want to make money. I am money motivated. I want to make as much money. I want every single month or every day for money to be flowing into my bank account. I like that very much. I might like that more than owning the buildings, but I do know, I've seen the spreadsheet. Owning the buildings is going to make us far wealthier than the businesses are. So do both.
Yeah. You can't play with your buildings though.
So just like I said, you can't eat equity, right?
You can't eat equity.
Weird.
Play with buildings, eat equity. It's the same thing.
All right.
All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Deal Junkies. We'll see you next time.